America depends in her campaign against the Muslim world on a number of pillars.
Overcoming terrorism and bringing greater freedom to the nations of the Middle East is the work of decades. To prevail, America will need the swift and able transformed military you will help to build and lead. America will need a generation of Arab linguists and experts on Middle Eastern history and culture. America will need improved intelligence capabilities to track threats and expose the plans of unseen enemies. Above all, America will need perseverance.
Its international weight and influence in the Muslim world, particularly after the Gulf Wars, which resulted in the consolidation of her influence in the whole region. Due to this, the existing states in the Islamic world became more compliant to American pressure and plans aimed at suppressing Islam and forcing Muslims to embrace capitalism.
Without the Soviet Union on board, it just gave a completely different dynamic to the whole effort. Instead of being an effort, let's say, by the United States and the United Kingdom to eject Iraq from Kuwait, it was an effort by the entire international community.
Although America is the leader of the capitalist states, she ensures that others participate in this campaign. She uses their influence and agents to guarantee the success of this campaign throughout the whole Muslim world, as these states do not differ from America in viewing Islam as a threat.
We will work with the UN Security Council for the necessary resolutions, but the purposes of the United States should not be doubted. The Security Council resolutions will be enforced. The just demands of peace and security will be met, or action will be unavoidable.
The international law and its tools represented by the United Nations and its institutions, which America employs to implement its plans under the cover of international law.
Extremist Islamic leader.
The struggle between radical and moderate factions.
The radicals.
Radical Islams. Do you think the United States is working against Islam?
Muslim nation.
Radical Islams
have been blamed on religious militants.
Muslim.
Islamic radicals.
With extremist elements at odds, a rise in militancy and terrorism.
Islam and
militancy and terrorism.
Islam
and militancy and terrorism.
The world media, dominated by America and her allies, is one of the most deadliest weapons to propagate its slogans. The media is used to distort the image of Islam and to incite the world against those who carry it, portraying them as fundamentalists and terrorists. This weapon should not be underestimated, especially after the revolution in telecommunications in the second half of this century, which has transformed the world into a tiny village where the written, audible and visual media has access into every single home.
I had no role in picking. Zero.
These are not America's puppets.
Perhaps the most dangerous of these pillars, the agent rulers and the circle around them of those lured by the kafir culture and fascinated by its way of life. This includes those who pretend to care about Islam, but in reality are nothing more than secularists calling for the detachment of the deen from life.
Iraq now has a designated prime minister, Iyad Alawi. I spoke with the prime minister yesterday. He recognized the sacrifice of brave Americans who have given their lives in Iraq, and he pledged that his country would be a friend and ally of America and peace.
The basis of the capitalist creed is the detachment of religion from life. This creed does not result from a rational process, nor even from a logical one. Rather, it is a compromise between two contradictory ideas. The idea which the Christian Church called for in the medieval ages, namely, the submission of everything in this life to religion, and the idea which some thinkers and philosophers called for, which was the denial of the existence of a creator or his separation from the state. But how can a compromise solution exist between two contradictory views? Either there is a creator who created man, universe and life and prescribed a system for man to proceed with, and who will account him after his death, or there is no creator, and religion would not need to be detached from life, but instead can be rejected altogether. The mere fact that the capitalist doctrine is a result of a compromise in an issue which allows no such compromise is enough in itself to refute the capitalist doctrine. However, some of the ideas of capitalism have achieved widespread circulation and gained acceptance by some Muslims, and because they form the slogans of the American campaign in its ferocious attack on Muslims and Islam, it has become necessary to address them, to show their falsehood as well as their contradiction with Islam.